Okay, it's not audible at all.
Ma'am, it is audible in between. I mean, like, I think you can continue for a minute.
That is what I was thinking. Sir, if you can hear me, you please just say namaste, hi, hello to us. Mandar
Namaste.
sir, are you there? Namaste. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that my voice is breaking. I'm supposed to read your introduction, but because of this cracking of voice, it's going to be very bad for me to start on this note. But there is an issue with the laptop, and there also I was not able to speak. People were not able to hear me. Am I better now, sir? Voice better now? No?
Your voice is breaking in between, and
Yeah,
we are not able to
difficult
hear
to hear.
you continuously.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
if
what
there
we'll
is
do is,
if there is no formality, I can start by introducing myself also. No issues.
yes, sir. I
Mandarji,
was going
welcome.
to request, please do that, sir.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Jayaji, very much. I applaud your all efforts to organize these kind of talks, and I feel privileged to be amongst all the attendees of this particular talk, which is related to the higher education prospects with respect to the new national education policy, which the central government has very recently, 2-3 months back, approved. And now the gist of the National Education Policy 2020 is available in the public domain, and we should all definitely go through it. So I have a small presentation for all of you. I shall share the presentation, and meanwhile I shall put off my video also so that I can save the bandwidth, and we can have a round of, say, 10-15 minutes of discussion at the towards the end of the session. So let me just put off the video. So just let me know once you are able to see the. Okay, fine. Is it visible? The screen is visible. Anybody can just unmute the mic and let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So my name is Mandar Bhanushe, and I am a mathematics faculty at the Institute of Distance and Open Learning, University of Mumbai in the Kalina campus. I am also the chairman of a mathematics NGO called as Raising a Mathematician Foundation, through which throughout the year we conduct a lot of programs, workshops, conferences, training sessions for teachers, parents, as well as for students. I also work for one of the largest student organization, Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, ABVP, as the Konkan state president. And that's all. That is a good introduction, I think. And let me again share my presentation. I hope I am audible, and if you can just put it in the chat that my voice is okay.
The voice is okay. Okay. Audible.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. And just also let me know once the screen is visible to you. Okay. Is the presentation visible?
No, no.
Yes. Okay. So thank you once again very much. And today we are going to find out some important features which are related to the higher education aspects of the new National Education Policy 2020. And I have given the title of the presentation as Future of Indianized Higher Education. We all are aware that the Britishers brought the education system, which after independence we are still continuing. And the basic purpose of this British education system was to make available some clerks for the administration of their government. And that was the sole purpose. It was not the reason for making our Indians educated, the natives here, well informed about the things. It is just to follow the orders kind of education which we were given. Unfortunately, not many structural changes have been made post-independence to this system. We also are aware that prior to the Britishers introducing the education system, India had its own way of handling education for the masses. And somehow we feel we are not aware, most of us are not aware, the public at large is not aware. How was the education system? What were the topics? What was the content of the delivery of knowledge, etc. But for that, I will suggest before I begin with the presentation here to definitely read a very nice book by Sri Dharampal ji, who was a disciple of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And Dharampal ji has written a very nice book called as A Beautiful Tree. The Beautiful Tree is the name of the book, and it is related to the pre-18th century education system existing in India. The entire data collection by Dharampal ji is from the British Gazette itself. So when the Britishers came here, they did a good survey of Calcutta Presidency, Madras Presidency, Bombay Presidency, and that data which they collected about the existing things in these areas in India, that Gazette report is what he has analyzed statistically and shown that before 18th century, India was very much ahead as far as the field of education is concerned. Anyway, so we are here to talk about the future of Indianized higher education. Let me just talk about the team which developed the National Education Policy. Dr. K. Kasturirangan, whom I think almost all of us know, the former ISRO chief, and he was the chairman of the draft committee of this education policy. Dr. Vasudha Kamath, Manjul Bhargav, Ram Shankar Kuril, T.V. Kattimaniji, and all these people. Dr. M.K. Sridhar specifically I'll mention. He's from Bangalore, and he himself is a Divyang person, but for drafting the national education policy, he traveled across India, met all kind of people, and he talked to everybody, discussed what shouldn't be there, what should be there, how much it should be there. And such good people together came, they formed a very nice team, and they developed a policy with the vision, which is something which I should begin with as a very important thing to all to share with all of you. This policy specifically says that what is the vision of this policy? The vision is to have an education system which is rooted in the Indian ethos. So that is something which is extremely good. We want our Indians to be Indians, not only by flesh and blood, but also by their conscience, also by their thoughts, also by their deeds. So this policy envisions a kind of education system which will be deep rooted in the Indian ethos and contributes directly to transforming India, which is Bharat, sustainably, not for a temporary kind of transformation, but a permanent kind of good transformation, sustainably into an equitable, सबको समान रूप से शिक्षा मिले, equitable, vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. So this is what the policy envisions, what education system we should be looking for in the coming 20-30 years, so that India becomes a global. Naturally India has those kind of capabilities. We need to explore them in the fullest. There are 5 principles on which this national education policy is completely based upon. The first point is access, which is very important. Access of the education system to each and every student, every deserving student, is something which this policy talks about at many places. So one important principle on which this NEP has been designed and has been thought of is access of education to all. The next principle is equity, because everybody should have an equal way of the knowledge dissemination. Somebody is getting more, somebody is getting less, somebody don't know is whether is inside the system or is not inside the system. So this shouldn't happen in India in the 21st century, what we are talking about. So equity of education, everybody should be getting the education. And the third principle, which is again very important, is about the affordability. With all kind of private institutions coming in the last 20-30 years, what we can see is the education has become, specifically when in today's topic, when we are discussing about higher education, it has become very, very costly. So how we can make our higher education accessible to all with complete equity and also with affordability, that is what this NEP talks about. The next important principle, which is again all of us have experienced about, is the accountability. When so many good things are talked about in the NEP, there has to be a factor of accountability also mentioned somewhere so that it gets implemented in letter and spirit. Otherwise, the question always comes, if nobody is accountable, then all these good talks, what we do, that doesn't make any sense if nobody is there to be made accountable for something which was decided but didn't happen actually. So accountability is one more very important principle of this NEP. And finally, and again, one of the important principle is the quality. So सबको शिक्षा मिले, समान रूप से शिक्षा मिले, सुलभ शिक्षा मिले, जिम्मेदारी के साथ शिक्षा मिले और गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा मिले, ये चार मूलभूत प्रिंसिपल्स इस नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के बारे में हम कह सकते हैं. Briefly, there are 4 parts of this national education policy, but of course the final complete document is yet to come in the public domain, so there may be slight changes in these kind of things. But one part talks about the school education, the second part talks about the higher education, the third part talks about integrating technology with the education, specifically professional and adult education, online education, and the fourth part is about how to make this NEP into existence, actually how to bring it on paper in the field. So that is about the fourth part of this NEP. Today in this talk, we are going to only discuss about the factors related to the higher education. So what are the key highlights which we observe once we read the gist of the National Education Policy 2020? And also I'll take this opportunity to request all of you who are present here for this talk to kindly download that PDF file from the website of Ministry of Education. Go through it, highlight certain things which you feel are important for you to contribute into, and let us see that we all together bring this national education policy into practice. So one of the highlights is to convert the existing higher education system into large by the way of number of enrollments, multidisciplinary universities and colleges. And that is with the vision that at least one should be there in every district. So like, for example, if you take our University of Mumbai, for example, today, it covers the MMRD region, that is Mumbai, you can say. It covers Palghar district, Thane district, Ratnagiri district, Raigad district, and Sindhudurga district. So it is jurisdiction of the Mumbai University is quite big, as you can see geographically. But if this NEP is implemented, probably in the next 20 years, we shall see a university in Raigad, we shall see a separate university in Ratnagiri, we shall see a university in Sindhudurga district, we shall see a university in Palghar district, where I stay in Vasai, for example. Likewise, across all the states in India. So large multidisciplinary universities and colleges is what is one of the important highlights. Then what is the meaning of multidisciplinary undergraduate and postgraduate syllabus? It means we should not be those silos which we have, that arts field, commerce field, science field, and engineering and medical. All these are kind of separate blocks, separated with some kind of very solid heavy bricks, and there is no coordination. There need not be any interaction between the two rooms. So these are, say, 4 or 5 different rooms of this higher education. So that is to go. It should not be like that. Higher education cannot be compartmentalized like this. So a person who is studying, taking some subjects of Faculty of Humanities or Social Sciences can also take a subject of commerce or management or some areas of science or some area of dramatics or music or any kind of other subjects. So this kind of mixing is what is expected. We shouldn't be creating a specialized in a left ear, a specialized in a right ear, a specialized in a left eye kind of environment. So multidisciplinary is what is expected in this new education policy. One very important factor is the autonomy, not only to the institute, but the autonomy also has to be given to the faculty about what to teach, how to teach, whom to teach, how much to teach, etc. As on now, we all, if there are almost all teachers, I don't know, the audience is all about teachers, or there are some good educationists also available. But if we are teachers, we understand that we are completely told to be inside into one box of the syllabus and curriculum which has been framed and given to us. In the given time frame, in the given syllabus, we have to do all the things. And if you go back to pre-18th century period, where the Indian education system, the flourished, and completely geographically spread out kind of system which we had, there was a complete autonomy to the guru in the Gurukul to decide what his shishya should learn. When the shishya has learned everything and can go back to his back to his family, all these things were decided by the guru in the Gurukul. Now here NEP talks about an autonomy to not only the institution, the college, the university, but also an autonomy to the faculty to decide the academic content of the subjects. There is a talk about a very important thing mentioned in the NEP, which is about establishing, the Parliament will establish by an act a National Research Foundation, which will fund outstanding peer-reviewed researches, not only by the faculty, but also by the students. So students will be encouraged to do research. That is something which is very important. And the handholding will be done by the senior professors of various universities and colleges. Governance of the higher education institutes will be done by highly qualified independent boards, which will be having academic as well as administrative autonomy. There will be greater opportunities for outstanding public education, which is one of the fears, basically, that public education gradually will go down and we'll be having more of private things coming up. This NEP very specifically says that opportunities will be created for outstanding public education system. But at the same time, scholarships by private and philanthropic universities for its disadvantaged groups and underprivileged groups is welcomed here. There is a talk about SEZ. We all know what is an SEZ in the economical terms, the special economic zones which have been created for those underdeveloped kind of geographical locations. Now, in India, there are many, in many states, there are many places, many districts where education has not is able to reach out to the last person in the population. So these kind of areas will be identified, and we will be creating special education zones specifically for the disadvantaged groups, for the underprivileged groups, for the transgenders, for women. That is what this NEP talks about. Now, all of us in the last 8 months have experienced about online education, but that experience has come with as a sudden jerk for all of us. Many of us were not expecting, were not prepared, were not interested to go into online education. But COVID-19 pandemic forced us to go online completely without any exceptions, because we don't have any option left to us. But now this online education, when properly planned, designed, and executed, will give you the better fruits as compared to what we did with an emergency situation. NEP talks about open and distance learning so that the gross enrollment ratio can be raised to up to 50%. Online education and qualitative and online education is what NEP talks about. All infrastructure and learning materials will be made accessible, and there will be a national portal where all these will be digitally saved so that everybody can access it. Now, coming to the restructuring of the universities, where we see that the NEP talks about converting the existing higher education institutes into 3 different types. So one type of that will be called as a research intensive university. And what is the work of this research intensive university? The focus here will be on very top class, high class kind of research, and obviously with an addition of high quality teaching also across all disciplines, multidisciplinary. The focus will be on research, good research, but teaching obviously has to be there. The second type of higher education institute will be a teaching institute intensive university, where the focus will be high quality teaching across all disciplines. Of course, there will be a significant contribution to the research also, but the main focus will be teaching. And the third type of higher education institute, which is conceptualized, is autonomous degree awarding institutions. So all these colleges specifically which we have, like University of Mumbai has more than 800 affiliated colleges. Pune University, Nagpur University, Amravati University also has 800, 900 affiliated colleges. SNDT Women's University has 60, 70 or more than that affiliated colleges. Now these affiliated college system will gradually be going away, and it will be replaced with, say for example, we have like we are in Mira Bhayandar, so we have a Royal College in Mira Bhayandar. So the Royal College now will not be a college affiliated to University of Mumbai after say 10 to 15 years from now. I don't know the deadline actually when it start to roll up, but very soon we expect these things to happen. So it will be a degree awarding. So the person who passes out of that particular college will get a degree of that college itself. Now, this will not happen suddenly. There is a procedure which has been defined in the NEP also. Like the accreditation has to be at a good standard with a good score, and the college is equipped, the institution is equipped with everything which is expected. Then the college can become an autonomous degree awarding institutions. So by 2040, it is expected that we convert all the existing higher education system into these you can see a three-tier system in the higher education, with research intensive, teaching intensive, and autonomous degree awarding institutions. This is something which is very interesting, what you can see on your screen. This is the flexibility which NEP is going to talk about. Now, earlier we had this 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 kind of environment, which is now going to get replaced with the 10 plus 2, as we have all seen 3 plus 3 plus, that final is plus 4. And that plus 4 is about 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So these 4 years will be the last 4 years of the school. And once this is done, the student can have a higher education spread across 5 years. But the student has the option of multiple exit and multiple entry in these 5 years of higher education. So for example, now currently when a student does a first year BA after 12th standard and leaves the education for some or the other reason, either due to some family issues or due to some other things, when he what document does he have in his hand after he drops out from the first year BA? So literally no document. 12th mark sheet is the only final document which the student currently has. But NEP 2020 talks about if the student exits after the first year of graduation, then the student will get something in his hand. उसने जो भी कुछ पढ़ाई की है, उस पढ़ाई का उसका कुछ सर्टिफिकेशन होगा. And at the end of first year, he may get a diploma in whatever courses he has learned. The second year exit will give him an advanced diploma. The third year exit will give him a bachelor's degree, the normal BA, BCom, BSc, but maybe the nomenclatures will be changed. And it is also encouraged to have a 4 years graduation that can be bachelor's degree with honors or with some research work. And then we can have a 5 years of integrated master's program also. So all these things have been mentioned basically because there has to be a flexibility and there has to be a choice. See, all of us have heard this phrase many times nowadays. It comes into media, freedom of speech. So our constitution has guaranteed us a freedom of speech. This National Education Policy 2020 guarantees the freedom of choosing a subject or a group of subjects for the students. So that freedom is granted into this NEP. Not only that, further, the student is also getting the freedom of completion, the speed of completion of his particular course, program, whatever he has decided. So the freedom of choice of the subjects and the freedom of speed of completion, whether a person wants to do a graduation in 3 years or 4 years, or he wants to leave in between and then come back after 2-3 years, that flexibility is there in the system. So this 3 to 4 years of undergraduate degree with multiple exit options at every year. And more, in addition to this NEP also says that everything will be credit based. So there will be credits given to different courses. A course here, when I say course, it actually means one paper which the learner learns. For example, in first year BCom nowadays, we have 6 papers: communication skills, so business communication, then business economics, mathematical and statistical techniques, commerce, accountancy, all those. These are say 6 to 7 papers. This paper is called as a course in the entire choice-based credit and grading system. So whatever courses the student learns and whatever credit for those courses the student earns, there will be an academic bank of credit where these credits will be entered into. So every student will be having a digital academic bank of credit where whatever credits the student has gained in his education will be stored. And based on these credits, he can move forward into any area where these credits will be applicable. These credits will be recognized by all higher education institutes in India, so that whatever 20 credits, 25 credits, or 30 credits of particular education the student has gained, that will be forming a foundation for his further studies. So this is something which is very important, that this academic bank of credit will be recognized by all higher education institutes, and this is digitally saved, so you don't have the fear of losing it and misplacing it, and then what will happen to my education kind of system. So this is very important, the choice-based credit system with an academic bank of credit and with multiple exit and multiple entry options: 4 years, 3 years of undergraduate, 2 years of a master's or integrated master's. So this is something which is quite interesting to see that how the entire education system here will be completely changed. The silos, the walls which we have created unnecessarily of arts, science, commerce will definitely break down here. The NEP talks about Bachelor of Liberal Arts kind of, or Bachelor of Liberal Education. And what is expected is what I just told few minutes back, that for example, I want to do a major in mathematics. But mathematics is something which is related, can be related to every other aspect of life. So major mathematics can have some minor credits taken from music, for example. We all know about Dr. Manjul Bhargav, who was also the member of the drafting committee. He plays very good tabla. And when he got the Fields Medal in 2014, which is equivalent to Nobel Prize in Mathematics, he said in his speech that whenever I faced any difficulty of a problem where I got stuck, I just left everything. I used to go and play tabla, and after some moments, I used to get some kind of solutions. Now, this is not just mere using of some kind of words for somebody else's satisfaction, but this is true. So a major in mathematics can have some minor credits of music, or maybe some minor credits of some other folk art, or whatever the student wants, philosophy for that matter. So a person who is doing Bachelor of Ayurveda Medicine, BAMS, that person can take some credits from allopathy, some credits from homeopathy. An allopathic doctor doing MBBS can take some credits of Panchakarma, can take some credits of naturopathy. These things are definitely going to be possible in the coming years. An engineering student who is doing 4 years of engineering can take subjects of arts, can take subjects of commerce, can take subjects of chemistry, can take subjects of physics. A civil engineer can take a subject of architecture, because civil engineer and architecture both go together. So these things are definitely possible when we talk about this holistic education, multidisciplinary education specifically. I think this is a very important contribution which the NEP would be making in the area of higher education. Then we have the expansion of open and distance learning. We know that from 1970 onwards, or in the earlier 1970s, we had this distance learning coming from Delhi University first, and say our Mumbai University is doing it for the last 50 years from 1971. So distance education in India has a good history of more than 50 years. Now it has to be completely used to see that the gross enrollment ratio in the higher education can be increased up to 50% with the help of the distance learning mode. And more flexibility will be offered. The study material, the content, the lectures, all kind of student support systems will be completely online. Digital repository will be there. There will be a good amount of research in the area of open and distance learning. There will be more student support services will be there. We have heard about massive open online courses, MOOCs. So there will be credit recognition of these MOOCs which the students will be undertaking, and all this together will definitely contribute to a higher number of people completing their higher education. Then comes the governance of the higher education institutions, and we see that the complete institutional governance will be based on autonomy. And the autonomy is not only of the academic aspect, the autonomy will be of academic, administrative, as well as financial aspects. So every higher education institute will be governed by an independent board with highly qualified people, and they will see that this particular higher education institute grows in the correct direction. We have experienced in the area of school education also, in the area of higher education also, of the problem with many kind of rules, regulations, ordinances, and all kind of administrative things which are there, that becomes sometimes a hindrance in achieving our objectives towards our education system. NEP 2020 talks about regulation which is light but tight. Now, why is it talking about this light but tight kind of phrase? It says that there has to be a regulation which is tight. Why it should be tight? Otherwise, if we loosen the aspect, then it can be a chaotic system also. But at the same time, it has to be light. It cannot be so much of tight that it completely breaks down, which is unfortunately happening today with multiple agencies at the helm of the affairs and multiple people entangled between these kind of regulations and rules. So that will be streamlined, and it will be a light but tight kind of regulation to ensure financial probity, public spiritedness, standard setting, funding, accreditation, and regulation. These four things will be there. We'll be talking about that in the next slide. And that is how the higher education regulations will be streamlined. There will be no affiliating college system, as I told in the earlier slide also. All affiliated colleges which are there currently affiliated to some universities, they will be requested, they will be asked to see, they will be motivated to convert themselves into autonomous, self-governing higher education degree awarding institutions. Otherwise, they have to close their dukan and go home. That is what it means. Now, coming to professional education, which is medical, engineering, architecture, teacher education, all these agriculture, health science, legal, law universities. Now, all these professional education institutions will be a part of higher education system. We cannot have this kind of education is different from this kind of, this is a standard, this is a traditional, this is a conventional, this is a professional, this is highly professional, this is substandard. So higher education cannot be divided into such kind of silos again. And therefore, the NEP talks about an integrated higher education system where agriculture, technical, health science, law, medical, everything can be into one campus with multidisciplinary subjects taught to the students taking these as major courses, major programs. So all students of allopathic medical education must have some understanding, basic understanding of Ayurveda. Lack of this understanding has resulted into the recently done one-day strike by the medical people. And all those doctors went on a strike saying that this Ayurveda people cannot do surgery and then we should stop them doing that. This is all because some kind of misunderstanding between the two. One second. This is a misunderstanding between the two fields, the doctors with allopathy and the doctors with Ayurveda. So it will not happen in the future just because it will be mentioned in the National Education Policy. It is mentioned that students who are doing MBBS, MD will also be taught some kind of Ayush related education, and vice versa. These the people from Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy also will be learning some kind of allopathic things. This is just to give you an idea about how diversity is there and how unity in diversity should be seen. Those who are doing the agriculture education should not learn anything of legal. Those who are doing law, BLB, LLB, LLM should not go into agriculture. This kind of thing should not happen. So that is what about professional education it says. In fact, it says that all these apex bodies who are currently handling the affairs of these professional programs, they should sit together and see that what kind of subjects, courses can be interchanged amongst themselves. Then we talked about the National Research Foundation, which it says that Act of Parliament, it will be established and it will be having an annual budget of 20,000 crore rupees. Now that is a huge amount, and we have to definitely see that how the government and the institutions and the different bodies will actually convert this into reaching out to each and every stakeholder of the higher education. But at least in the first instant, we can say it is a welcoming kind of step, so that research capacity is utilized in the complete and academic institutions across the country, across all disciplines, get the fund so that they can contribute to the, not only for the research, for the sake of research, but also there the government or the national education policy says that the research specifically for those issues which are currently a prominent kind of thing in the Indian system, if a solution is being achieved through some kind of research for solving these problems, those kind of researches will be definitely encouraged. So many national issues which are there, which needs to be researched, and some kind of solutions, long-term solutions need to be found. So there will be a lot of funding which will be available, hopefully, if we go by what is written in the NEP and it is actually implemented. Then comes the education technology aspect, which we know that education, not only education, but education supported with the newly technological things which are coming. For example, artificial intelligence is there, machine learning is there, deep intelligence is there, augmented reality, virtual reality is there. All these things which are coming newly in the, of course, they are being there for the last many years, but in the higher education, we are yet to completely use these kind of tools. So there will be a National Education Technology Forum, which is an autonomous body, and that is to facilitate decision making on induction, deployment, and the use of different technological tools and technology for education. There will be a national repository of educational data which will maintain all records related to all institutions, teachers, and students in a digital form. Whatever content is being created will be hosted on a national repository so that anybody from India, from any place, can access it. Vocational education, again, is something which is completely neglected as far as Indian context is concerned. We see that less than 5% students of the age group 19 to 24 are actually subjected to vocational education. This is very, very less as of today, because we consider vocational education as something which is substandard. My student, my boy, my girl doesn't need to learn what is vocational education, the subjects of vocational education. उसको क्या करना है, electrician का क्या काम रहता है, plumber का क्या काम रहता है, and all these kind of skills. But now in this NEP, we see that this vocational education is not going to be a separate kind of thing. It will be completely integrated into the higher education as well as in the school education system. So majorly the target group is in the age group 19 to 24. But at the school level also, we have seen in the NEP, it talks about giving internship to the high school students so that they go out and meet these kind of artisans, these kind of people who are there in different skills, involved in different skills. So that is definitely going to be happening. Then the financial aspect, that the entire complete funding, we say that 6% of the GDP has to be given, but that never happens. It is roughly 3.4%. And the total budget allocation is out of the total budget, 10% or less is given for the education. NEP 2020 talks about 20% of the entire budget expenditure should be on the education sector. That is what NEP talks about. So let us see whether the government in the next budget starts increasing the funds allocated to the public education from currently to, which is approximately 10% of the total expenditure, to making it double in the coming years. Then NEP also talks about 100% youth and adult literacy by 2030, and there will be a specific drive which will be taken across all states so that we achieve this adult literacy by 2030, 100% adult literacy. Here comes the complete transformation of the regulatory system which we have. Now, currently, many of you must have heard, or many of us must have heard the names like UGC, AICTE, NCTE, Medical Council of India, Dental Council of India, Architectural Council of India, and all these kind of apex bodies of various professional courses. Now, the NEP 2020 talks about one single regulatory body, which is one umbrella, and that one umbrella will be of Higher Education Commission of India. That will be the one single apex body, under which there will be 4 different verticals with 4 dedicated works. One will be the National Higher Education Regulatory Council, and the name itself suggests that its work is to regulate the entire higher education. Okay, and though currently it is excluding the medical and legal education as it says, but it is expected that entire higher education, it comes under one regulatory authority, so that there will be uniformity in designing and making the regulations with respect to the higher education different domains. Then the second vertical is about the National Accreditation Council. Currently, it is National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC. Many of you might have heard about it. Now that will be renamed with National Accreditation Council, and its work definitely will be to see that every higher education institute gets accredited with the minimum score, their quality improves so that they can either become one of the 3 tiers of the education, higher education. The third is the Higher Education Grants Council, which currently actually UGC was made for that, to give grants to the higher educations. But somehow UGC also started making regulations, UGC also started doing other things. Now this third vertical of Higher Education Grants Council is expected to fund financial funding for all higher education institutes in a transparent way. And the fourth vertical is about General Education Council, whose work is to frame the standards of the different programs. So standard setting bodies is what which will come under the General Education Council, and that like AICTE and all those things which are existing now, they will be the professional standard setting bodies, and that will come under the General Education Council. So these are 4 verticals which will look into regulation, accreditation, finance, and governance, that is standard setting. So 4 verticals which will be under one umbrella of the Higher Education Commission of India. So courses and programs in subjects such as Indology, Indian languages, Ayush systems of medicine, yoga, arts, music, history, culture, modern India, internationally relevant curriculum in sciences, social sciences, and beyond, meaningful opportunities for social engagement, quality residential facilities, and on-campus support, because we are talking about large education institutes. So when I say large, means number of students will be 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 in one campus. So they have to build the infrastructure, the residential facilities, the on-campus support systems. My title was talking about Indianized education system. Now here you can see so many things, so many different subjects they are talking about. What is it basically? If you go back to our Indian education system, we used to say in our system, we in the Gurukul, we used to learn 64 different kalas. तो 64 कलाएं हमारे यहाँ पर पढ़ाई जाती थी. अभी 64 कला क्या है आज देखेंगे तो इसमें से कितनी एक्चुअली है और कितनी चली गई है, लुप्त हो गई है. लेकिन इस पॉलिसी में कहा गया है that there will be all these kind of different subjects which will be not as co-curricular, extracurricular and all kind of vocational and other words, but it will be entirely called as a higher education. And all these things will be in the higher education. We can't say this is something which is optional and something like that. Everybody will be made to learn, will be given this facility to learn these kind of subjects. We are not going to create some kind of extra and super specialist kind of people. That is definitely after their masters, they can go and do that. But a minimum understanding of what is India, that cultural diversity which we see in different aspects and the unity which is there inside it, that has to be experienced. Just one point I'll take from the school education, which I feel is something very relevant in today's times also. To say that the students learn different languages from different states. So at the high school level, there will be a competition fun-like kind of program organized where students will be allowed to, a student of Maharashtra can learn, say, for example, Punjabi, or can learn Bangla, or can learn Kannada. Some other Indian language they have to learn in their syllabus. Now, this is how we will be exposing our future generations about the concept of Bharat में जो विविधता है उसमें अंतर्निहित जो एकता है. That is what we want our students, the future generations, to understand. Then coming back again to the other important parameters, which are the National Scholarship Portal. Now, this is very important because this is going to be there for all India purpose with complete support, foster and track the progress of students who are supposed to receive different kind of government scholarships. So all those who are currently receiving scholarships, this kind of portal will see that the student is actually getting it in time. So all these grievances which are there under the scholarship issues also may get eliminated. Faculty will be given freedom to design their own curricular and pedagogical approaches within the approved framework, including textbook and reading material selections and assignments and assessments. Everything will be decided by the faculty, which kind of student should be assessed in which way. We today unfortunately have a very kind of blanket way of evaluating our learners by one single examination. That is not possible, and I'm sure all of you definitely must have seen that cartoon and heard about it before, where all the animals of the forest are called together, and the examination is to climb the tree. Whoever climbs the tree first will be declared as first ranker. Now there's an elephant, there's a squirrel, there is a snake, there is a bird, there is a tiger, there's a camel, there's a zebra, there is a crocodile, there's a tortoise. All these animals are there, and then all these animals have only one examination to pass. If they want to sustain in the jungle, they have to climb the tree. Now this is not possible. Unfortunately, teachers don't have that freedom today to decide how their subject has to be evaluated. Here, NEP talks about the freedom to design their curriculum, the pedagogical approaches, and the assessment, all the three things. The policy also envisions ensuring equitable access to quality education to all students and specifically to the socio-economically disadvantaged groups. Finally, the teacher education program, which is currently of 2 years of B.Ed, it will be transformed into a 4 years integrated B.Ed program. And that can be only offered by a multidisciplinary institution and not by a standalone B.Ed college. So currently all those B.Ed colleges which have only one single program of B.Ed or M.Ed have to either convert themselves, transform themselves into a multidisciplinary institution so that they can sustain after 2030, or they have to be closed down. So substandard and dysfunctional teacher education institutions will be told to shut down their colleges. Otherwise, they have to get transformed into multidisciplinary higher education institutes. And a lot of many things have been mentioned as far as the teacher education is concerned. In fact, you should read the entire chapter based on teacher education to see that why this 4 years of integrated B.Ed program has been suggested. And of course, only suggested to be offered by a multidisciplinary institution, not by a standalone B.Ed college. Professional education, we have already discussed about. Adult education, 100% adult literacy. NCERT will be given the task to see that by 2030 we receive 100% adult literacy. So that's all about this particular national education policy, higher education. And now I think we can take some questions. I think there is time left, so we can definitely take some good questions from the participants, and maybe that may make clear some of the points little more better. So thank you very much for your patient listening, and the talk is open for questions.
Mr. Mandar.
Ji, namaste.
Namaste, Mohan Iyer.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste. Excellent insight you have given. One thing I want to ask is the medical engineering सब एक umbrella में आ जाएगा. But what about CA, CS? They are all independent bodies. Even those exams will be conducted by government bodies, or it will be?
No, it is not about the examinations being conducted by one body. It is the regulation and the funding and all those things which are related to different higher education programs. That will be divided into 4 verticals. Currently, they have left out medical, legal, and all these things because for last so many years they have been established as apex bodies. So, suddenly, we can't say from tomorrow AICTE will not be functional and everything will go to some other apex body. So gradually, phase-wise, it will be done. But the idea is to see that one regulatory body for all programs, because then the regulation will not be will have a clash between each other. Currently, if there is a clash, it is difficult to resolve because those two are two different independent apex bodies. So any clash cannot be resolved when they are working independently. When it works under one umbrella, it will be easy for us to resolve certain kind of clashes amongst them. and also to plan a holistic learning. I think that is more important. So it is not conduct of examination, but it is actually dissemination of the knowledge for the different professional courses.
Okay.
Hello,
Ji.
am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am.
That's great. So first of all, let me tell you, sir, this was a very comprehensive presentation. In a very short span of time, you have covered all the aspects right from the main principles of the policy. There are certain questions by our participants.
Okay.
Ms. Deepthi has written a question. Ms. Deepthi, would you like to unmute yourself and ask directly?
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am. Namaste, everyone. So, previously in the beginning, you said, sir, that the individual colleges, like Mithibai and Royal College, they will provide the degrees to the students as independent bodies, and students will not be getting the higher education degrees or final qualification degree from the university. So my question would be, sir, these degrees would be relevant or would be recognized by the foreign universities as well if the children want to pursue their further education in foreign countries?
Actually, I couldn't get your question properly because your voice volume got very low after some time. If you can just repeat your exact question once again, please.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. So my question is, so like you said that the colleges will have the liberty to give the degrees to the students who are completing the qualification or completing the BA and BCom degrees in their colleges. The colleges will provide them the degree. They'll be the independent bodies. They will not be getting the degrees from the universities. So my question here is, sir, that these particular degrees this will be recognized in the foreign universities as well. I mean, if the children wish to pursue the higher qualification in foreign countries.
Yes, obviously it will be recognized. Why it will not be recognized? If it is done formally through the higher education governing bodies in India, then definitely, for example, why University of Mumbai's certificate is valid across all universities in the world? Because it is recognized by UGC as on today. So these autonomous degree awarding institutions will be recognized by the higher education body of India. So definitely the degrees offered by the colleges will be recognized, no doubt on that part. But it has to undergo that process of recognition first.
Right. Also, Deepthi ma'am, this is only one category of higher institutions, the autonomous colleges. This is one of those categories. Right, sir?
Correct.
Okay, ma'am.
Correct.
Yeah, not every college is going to become autonomous, by the way. So Miss Vandana also has a
definitely NEP says that the affiliated college system will go up phase-wise. So University of Mumbai and affiliated 10, 15, 100, 200, 500 colleges, this system definitely will go. So what can happen, for example, what can happen? I can give an example. We have a Somaiya College, a group of institutions in Vidyavihar today in Mumbai. So there is an arts college, a science college, a B.Ed college, an engineering college, a diploma college, all in one campus. This can become a deemed university or it can become a university. Which kind of university? Either a research intensive university or a teaching intensive university. Or the colleges in the Somaiya campus can become individual autonomous degree awarding institutions. It depends upon the infrastructure, the facilities, the student enrollments, the courses, and the will of the management that what it wants to get transformed into, whether it wants to get transformed into a single autonomous degree awarding institution or it wants to get transformed into a teaching intensive university with a large campus and large enrollment. So that is up to the individual college management currently to think about how they envision their growth in the coming 10 to 20 years with respect to this national education policy.
Wonderful. In fact, this idea about having specialized universities focused on research is something which was, I think, to a great extent lacking in India and much needed in India, which will also bring an impact on the schools to start focusing on research aptitude right from an early age. So, sir, I'm finding this quite similar to the system abroad, like in US, also I've seen in Scandinavian countries, Finland, etc. They have one particular college itself known as university. So they don't have university as one body and under which several colleges, they are affiliated.
Correct.
So it's similar to that, right, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Miss Vandana has a question, followed by Miss Smita. Vandana ma'am, please unmute and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am. Namaste, sir. Sir, my question is
Namaste.
that, yes, sir, that we are having autonomous institution and affiliated college in huge numbers, and now we are moving from all this fragmented, all this fragmentation to one, that is one university, that is where higher education institute. So how, sir, these private institutes can be merged in one, or what will happen to those old faculties? So will they be recognized as a government employees, or they will be included in private institute only, sir? So it will be the big questions for those old faculties. So I'm just asking in that way, sir.
Yeah, so there is no direct answer which I can give, because I am not anybody in the government. I am just like you people. So I am a common citizen by that logic. So what NEP says is not merging of institutions. Actually, in those clear words, it doesn't say like that. What it says, that currently there are 40,000 plus colleges in India. And the enrollment, if you see per college, there are colleges with enrollment of 50, 100, 500, which doesn't make any sense. There are universities with an enrollment of less than 1,000. So there are B.Ed colleges, a college higher education institute with an enrollment of 60 students only. So numbers is what is the UGC say, the National Education Policy is saying about that we need to have large multidisciplinary higher education institutions which will work in the area of higher education. Now, that is what I said in the answer of the previous question also. It is up to the individual college management to see that with respect to these ideas which have been propagated in the NEP, how they see their management to grow. Because that is up to the college management to decide that where should we go, what should we do. Definitely, it will not be affiliated to any university after 10 years from now. So it has to become a degree awarding institution. That means you can't just have a college which is BCom. College is offering only degree of BCom. So single standalone commerce college is not going to be allowed. You have to have subjects of arts, you have to have subjects of science. So that doesn't mean that the physical structure of the college now has to be demolished, or you have to take it and put it into some other campus. It doesn't mean that. It means you have to work collaboratively with other higher education institutes and form something what is mentioned as a school complex in the school education, to have a cluster of colleges in the higher education system. Now that is what the different committees which are going to be formed by the government in different states, also by the center, are going to actually work upon. Vandana ji, your question is basically upon the practical implementation of the topics of the NEP. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
that will be decided by the different state governments, the different task force, and the committees which they will be forming to look into the implementation of NEP. There will be not, this will not happen like you just take a knife and just cut it into two pieces. Aaj se tum wahan pe aur main yahan pe. It is not going to happen like that. So
Yes,
gradually, phase wise, these things will happen. But yes, one message is very clear. Universities will be large, multidisciplinary. Higher education institutes have to be into either of the three tiers, either research intensive, teaching intensive, or standalone degree awarding autonomous multidisciplinary colleges. That definitely is there. How that gets actually worked out physically, practically, has to be done by the different committees and task forces in coordination with the existing college managements. They have to decide this.
yes, sir. Thank you. But it's again big challenge for those parents also, that how like they will decide that in which institute they should follow. Like still now they are just following that have a big, like they are always having a good faith with good institute कि हमें इस बच्चे को इसी इंस्टीट्यूट में पढ़ाना है, जैसे सिम्बोसिस से तो मुझे ये मैनेजमेंट का कोर्स करवाना है, ये करवाना है. नाउ द मोमेंट फैकल्टी विल बी मर्ज्ड इन वन इंस्टीट्यूट, one university, so it will be again very challenging for those who will be opting as a newcomer.
I'm
Is it
again
so?
saying it is not going to get merged. It is going to get transformed within.
Yes,
So, for
sir.
example, Royal College will not get merged into some university. Royal College will become itself a university. That is what
Okay.
I am trying to say. Or if it is not having that capacity, that kind of quality and that kind of infrastructure, it will still remain a standalone, autonomous, degree awarding Royal College. It need not get merged into something else. And what you also are talking about is the parents and the students. No? So like we are having a talk right now currently with people who are from education field here, it is our individual's responsibility now to take this NEP to the masses, to the parents, to this for future generation, to the students, to all like-minded people, and to make them understand that what is this NEP offering, how we as citizens whose next generation is going to get into the higher education are going to look at this particular changes. We have to change not only the mindset of the college management, college principals, college teachers, university administrators, but also we have a big Herculean task to change the mindset of the parents. I think all of us will agree upon this aspect that parents are kind of group which think that my child has got 80% in 12th standard, that means that my child should go to engineering only. And engineering में भी उसने computer engineering करना है क्योंकि बाद में अच्छा प्रकार का नौकरी मिलता है. My child is good in some kind of biological operations kind of thing, my child should go into doctor MBBS only. आयुर्वेदा वगैरह सब बकवास है, आयुर्वेदा में नहीं, आयुर्वेदा में मार्क्स कम मिल गया तो BMS में डालेंगे. This kind of mentality, of the parents have to be changed. Now that is the task of the teachers to do. So we have a big responsibility of taking this NEP in letter and spirit to the masses, to the parents, to the future parents also, and make them understand that you have to change your mind. 35% mila to arts, 60% mila to commerce, 75% mila to science. It is not going to be like that. You cannot judge your students' capacities and capabilities based on the memory testing which happens at the end of the semester. So therefore, we have a very multiple tasks we have as teachers, not only handling the students, current students, the future students, the administrators in who are above us, our colleagues and the parents. All these things we have to handle as teachers. So हमारे पास में बहुत काम है, सबसे साथ में मिलके करना है.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
I just
Namaste,
want
sir.
to contribute
Namaste.
to this answer. Like, it's about restructuring within that institution itself. So Vandana
Yes.
ma'am, there is nothing like merging. उस स्कूल को, उस इंस्टीट्यूशन को अपने अंदर ओवरहॉलिंग करके जो भी उनको स्टैंडर्ड्स मीट करने के लिए करना है जाना है. We want to be an research oriented institution or highly quality teaching oriented, but then restructuring, overhauling of their systems will be required. This is one. And what sir said, the mindset of people, the Indian public, I think it all starts from the school level education. और आने वाले कुछ सालों में ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी जब NEP स्कूल लेवल से स्टार्ट होगी, जहां पर हम ये सारे सब्जेक्ट वाइज साइलोज को ब्रेक कर देंगे एंड पीपल विल स्टार्ट वैल्यूइंग मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी अप्रोच, इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी अप्रोच. तब शायद हायर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में वो दिक्कतें नहीं आएंगी. So huge responsibility. Yes, now
Namaste, ma'am. Namaste, sir.
Yes, Mr. Roshan, you can ask your question.
So first of all, ma'am, thank you so much. आपने ये ऑर्गेनाइज करवाया है, मंदार सर को बुलाया यहाँ पर और NEP पॉलिसी के बारे में बताया, क्योंकि हम हमेशा एक्साइटेड रहे हैं. आपको पता है कि हम अप्लाइड थिएटर को लेते हुए हम स्कूल्स के साथ काम करते हैं और ये NEP पॉलिसी हमारे लिए भी एक दरिया है, एक जरिया है जहां पर हम इनके साथ काम कर सके, बच्चों के साथ, एजुकेटर्स के साथ. एंड वी हैव बीन डूइंग फ्रॉम लास्ट 8 years विद द डिफरेंट स्कूल एंड एजुकेटर्स. सो सर, recently we have been doing a lot of workshops where science and theater have been integrated. In fact, we are also integrating academic subjects with theater. So हमने हमारा ये काम रहा है जहां पर ये 8 साल से कि किस तरह से ये अप्लाइड थिएटर, किस तरह से ये एजुकेशन हम लेके जा सके. तो NEP हमें ये हेल्प कर रहा है. बट एट द सेम टाइम सर, यहाँ पर काफी सारे हम चैलेंजेस बोल सकते हैं कि ये हम नहीं लेके जा पा रहे, क्योंकि ऐसे बहुत सारे एजुकेटर्स है जो ये करना चाहते हैं बट हम ये नहीं लेके जा पा रहे, ये होलिस्टिक अप्रोच. सो सर, कैन यू गाइड विद अस कि किस तरह से हम ये मुंबई में या फिर बाहर हमारे इंडिया में और एजुकेटर से किस तरह से पहुंचाया जाए ऐसे?
नहीं, क्या पहुंचाना है आपको? आपका जो अप्लाइड थिएटर में आप काम करते हैं वो स्कूल तक पहुंचाना है, ऐसे आपका सवाल है?
जी, जिस तरह से ये एनईपी पॉलिसी एजुकेशन और थिएटर, जो एकेडमिक सब्जेक्ट्स और थिएटर को किस तरह से लेके जाए, उसका दूसरा नाम टीआई भी बोलते हैं सर, थिएटर इन एजुकेशन। तो वो किस तरह से हम पूरे अलग अलग एजुकेटर्स के पास हम लेके जा सकते हैं?
नहीं, उसमें एक तो ऐसे है कि जैसे मैंने बताया हायर एजुकेशन में, वैसे ही स्कूल एजुकेशन में भी होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन की बात की है। आज जिसको हम ड्रामा, थिएटर, फोक म्यूजिक, सिंगिंग, ये सब जो अलाइड करके कहते हैं, ये एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर करके कहते हैं। किसी ने
हाँ।
अच्छा डांस में कोई अगर बहुत अच्छा है तो हम उसको क्या बोलेंगे? ये एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटी में अच्छा है। हम नहीं बोलेंगे कि ये एकेडमिक में अच्छा है, क्योंकि हमको आज ऐसे बिल्कुल सबको बताया गया है और हमारे मन में फिक्स हो गया है एकेडमिक मतलब मैथ, साइंस, फिजिक्स, हिस्ट्री, इकोनॉमिक्स, ये एकेडमिक है। डांस करो, कोई गाना गाओ, कोई अच्छा डायलॉग करो, कोई कला करो, तो कोई कलाकारी की चीज होगी तो वो एकेडमिक नहीं है। ऐसे हमारे पर भारत में बहुत पहले नहीं था,
जी।
हमारे यहाँ पर दर्जा दिया गया था। अच्छी बात यह है कि राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 जो है वो बहुत स्पष्ट रूप से कहती है कि ये जो सारे दीवारें हमने खड़ी की हैं इनको ध्वस्त किया जाए और स्कूल के सिलेबस में सभी को चॉइस दिया जाए क्या सीखना है। तो कोई 10वीं का, 9वीं का, 11वीं का बच्चा है, 8वीं का बच्चा है और वो कहे कि मुझे म्यूजिक में इंटरेस्ट है, मुझे थिएटर आर्ट्स में इंटरेस्ट है, मुझे स्कल्पचर्स में इंटरेस्ट है, मुझे ड्राइंग में इंटरेस्ट है, तो वो इंटरेस्ट केवल इंटरेस्ट नहीं रहेगा, उसको बढ़ावा दिया जाना चाहिए, उसको वो सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए। तो आज जो आपको दिक्कत हो रही है कि आप बहुत लोगों को अप्रोच करते हैं स्कूल्स को, लेकिन कोई उसको आज इतना इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं देता है, महत्व नहीं देता है। आप कुछ समय रुकिए तो आपको पता चलेगा, आपको सामने से स्कूल से कॉल आएगा और कहेंगे हमारे इतने स्कूल के बच्चों को ये सीखना है, आपका कोई फैकल्टी हो तो हमारे साथ शेयर करो। This is going to happen in the next few years, definitely, because NEP very clearly says that this choice of the learner to learn a particular thing has to be provided. तो स्कूल कॉम्प्लेक्स जिसका मैंने जस्ट थोड़ा सा ही मैंने जिसके बारे में कहा, क्योंकि ये आज का टॉक तो हायर एजुकेशन पे था, उसमें ये कॉन्सेप्ट ही स्कूल कॉम्प्लेक्स की इसकी वजह से है। जैसे हमारा रामरत्ना इंटरनेशनल स्कूल है और रामरत्ना का हमारा रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल है, और उसके अलावा भाईंदर में, उत्तर में आप देखेंगे समझो और एक 8-10 स्कूल है उस एरिया में, उत्तर में ही समझो और 4-5 कॉलेजेस आजू बाजू में। तो विद इन अ रेडियस ऑफ से 5 to 10 kilometers you have a different types of 4 to 5 or 6 schools. All these schools can come together, they can form a school complex. तो अगर उसमें कोई थिएटर आर्ट्स की एकेडमी है आपके उत्तर में फॉर एग्जाम्पल, और आपकी कोई डांस एकेडमी है उत्तर में, आपका कोई सिंगिंग म्यूजिक एकेडमी है उत्तर में, तो रामरत्ना इंटरनेशनल स्कूल, रामरत्ना रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल और बाकी और 4 स्कूल बोलेंगे भाई आपका जो टीचर है उसको बोलिए 1-1 घंटा हमारे यहाँ पर भी क्लास लेने के लिए। क्यों? हमारे स्कूल में भी 4-5 बच्चे हैं, हम सब बच्चे तो इंटरेस्टेड नहीं, लेकिन 4 बच्चे हैं, 4 बच्चों के लिए हम अलग से ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं। तो आपका तो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग फैकल्टी है, वो हमारे ऊपर आकर कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ाए। तो ये जो एक्सपेक्टेशन है, अपेक्षाएं हैं कि एक कॉम्प्लेक्स बनेगा, एक समूह बनेगा स्कूल्स का, और उसमें सारी चीजें शेयर होगी, फिर वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर शेयर होगा, एकेडमिक शेयर होगा और बाकी सारी चीजें शेयर होगी, ये अपेक्षा है। वैसे ही उच्च शिक्षा में क्लस्टर, कॉलेज क्लस्टर्स बनाने की अपेक्षा है। तो ये जो सारे सब्जेक्ट्स आज अलाइड अलग अलग करके हमको दिखते हैं, ये कलाएं वास्तव में सब एक ही स्तर की है, इसमें कोई बड़ा है कोई छोटा है ऐसे नहीं, हर कला उसका एक महत्व है, उसका एक स्थान है। इन सबको उचित स्थान देने की ही योजना एनईपी में कही गई है। तो आपको कुछ वर्ष में के बाद में आपको सामने से लोग फोन करके बोलेंगे कि हमारे स्कूल में भी आइए, हमारे यहाँ पर भी ये काम है। लेकिन हमने हमारी तरफ से कोशिश जारी रखनी चाहिए, कंटिन्यू रखनी चाहिए। वी शुड रीच आउट टू पीपल। हमारा जो इंडियन फोक है, इंडियन आर्ट है, इंडियन म्यूजिक है, हमारी जो भरत मुनि से लेकर जो सारी परंपरा है, हमने उसको आगे ले जाने का हमारा जो कर्तव्य है, उसको, उस कर्तव्य पथ को हमने नहीं छोड़ना है। सौभाग्य से ये राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 हमारी जो मन में धारणाएं हैं उसको लेकर चल रही है, और उसी को लेकर कहा है कि ये हायर एजुकेशन और स्कूल एजुकेशन में, होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन में ये सारी चीजें आनी चाहिए। तो आपको भी शुभकामनाएं, अच्छा ही होगा, कोई चिंता मत कीजिए।
जी बिल्कुल सर। और हम ये भी सोच रहे थे कि मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी में किस तरह से हमारा कोर्स, अप्लाइड थिएटर जो कोर्स है वो लॉन्च कर सकते हैं क्या, ऐसे कितने क्या
आप आइए
प्रोस्पेक्ट है
कभी
इसके?
यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस में। अभी तो कोविड की वजह से 50% स्टाफ नहीं है, लेकिन जब कभी रेगुलराइज हो जाएगा आप आइए। यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मुंबई के कलीना कैंपस में अलग थिएटर आर्ट्स डिपार्टमेंट है और बहुत ही वाइब्रेंट और बहुत ही एक्टिव है। तो आप वहाँ के जो संचालक है, डायरेक्टर, उनको जरूर मिलिए।
जी सर, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल मिलेंगे सर। थैंक यू सो मच। नमस्ते सर।
नमस्ते।
Thank you for such a wonderful detailed explanation. And yes, I agree with you. एक वक्त आने वाला है जहाँ ये सारी कलाओं को उतनी ही जरूरी समझा जाएगा जितना अभी दूसरे विषयों को समझा जाता है। और जैसे
और
भारत में
आपको
ये हमेशा
जया
से
जी, आपको उसका नेतृत्व करना है, ये याद रखिए।
सर जैसे इन्होंने बताया रंगभूमि, तो हम इस तरह की संस्थाओं के साथ जुड़ते हैं, अपने बच्चों के लिए वो सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी देने की कोशिश करते हैं। और हाँ, रास्ता और आगे बहुत लंबा है और आपके मार्गदर्शन से हम जरूर वो सब कुछ करेंगे जो हमें करना चाहिए। और उसी एक श्रृंखला में आज की कड़ी थी, कैसे हम समझें कि भारतीयता को अपनी शिक्षा में कैसे हम लेकर आए। सबसे पहले तो कैसे हम उस चीज में गर्व महसूस करें, हम खुद जाने और पहचाने अपनी परंपराओं और संस्कृति को, और फिर उसे अपने शिक्षा का एक अभिन्न अंग बनाएं। सिर्फ कहीं टच अपॉन करने की कोशिश ना करें, पर वो इंटीग्रल पार्ट बन जाए। जब भी हम बच्चों से बात करें तो वो चीज वो झलके। थैंक यू फॉर मेकिंग अस मोर कॉन्शियस अबाउट इट। We have some more questions, I believe. Smita ma'am, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, thank you ma'am. Namaste sir. पहले तो सर थैंक यू वेरी मच। बहुत ही सिंपल भाषा में आपने हमको बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ एनईपी की बहुत अच्छे से क्लैरिटी दे दी है, तो काफ़ी चीज़ें क्लियर हो चुकी है। ये मल्टीपल एग्जिट एंट्री सिस्टम का मुझे समझना था। लाइक यू सेड दैट कैंडिडेट विल हैव द ऑप्शन टू एग्जिट अ कोर्स and then maybe after taking a break he may enter into that course. Now if the candidate, suppose if I have taken BAMS and I have completed my 2 years of BAMS and then I plan to exit, now this is something very technical course, you know, so unless until आपने आपका पूरा course complete किया, you are not technically ready for any kind of job in that area, because you need to be technically aware of all the aspects of that course to start your private practice or anything. In that case the person will remain unemployed, right, till he completes his entire course. Or if I take BCom, BA, anything where technically अगर कोई बंदे ने BCom या BA किया है, तो जब तक वो उसका पूरा कोर्स कंप्लीट नहीं करेगा वो ग्रेजुएट नहीं माना जाएगा। और जब तक वो ग्रेजुएट नहीं माना जाएगा फुल्ली, मे बी ही मे नॉट बी एबल टू गेट अ प्रॉपर जॉब टू अर्न हिज लिविंग। सो दैट वाज आई वांटेड टू हैव अ क्लैरिटी इन दैट एस्पेक्ट सर।
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा सवाल है आपका, लेकिन आपके सवाल के अंदर ही उसका थोड़ा सा जवाब भी आपको मिल जाएगा। वो ये है कि जब हमको मल्टीपल एग्जिट देना है, ये तय है, तो हम जो कोर्स सिलेबस बनाएंगे वो ऐसा ही बनाएंगे कि उसमें 1 साल के कंटेंट में कुछ ना कुछ टेक अवे रहेगा। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैं आपको उदाहरण के लिए बताता हूँ। मैं जस्ट कुछ दिन पहले बेंगलोर में था, और बेंगलोर में एक यूनिवर्सिटी है, स्वामी विवेकानंद योग अनुसंधान संस्था, एस व्यासा। तो योग मेडिटेशन पर काम करती है। तो उनका एक कोर्स है, सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स इन योगा इंस्ट्रक्टर, और उसके बाद उनके पास एक कोर्स है डिप्लोमा इन योगा इंस्ट्रक्टर। फिर उनके पास में एक कोर्स है एडवांस डिप्लोमा इन योगा इंस्ट्रक्टर। अब आप मुझे बताइए, ये योगा इंस्ट्रक्शन तो सेम है, फिर सर्टिफिकेट वाले कोर्स में कंटेंट क्या है, डिप्लोमा वाले कोर्स में कंटेंट क्या है, और एडवांस डिप्लोमा में कंटेंट क्या है। तो इसका मतलब ही ऐसा है कि 10 चीजें अगर हमको किसी को सिखानी है, उसको हम लोग 3 और 4 के ग्रुप में डिवाइड किए हैं, और उसको एक नाम दिया है। तुम 3 चीजें सीखोगे तो तुमको सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा, आगे की 3 सीखोगे तो डिप्लोमा मिलेगा, और आगे की और 4 सीखोगे तो तुमको बैचलर्स डिग्री मिलेगी, एडवांस डिप्लोमा मिलेगा, या और कुछ डिग्री मिलेगा। तो कोर्सेज, जैसे जया जी ऑल्सो वॉज टॉकिंग अबाउट, इट इज ऑल अबाउट रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग, रिविजिटिंग ऑल व्हाट यू आर टीचिंग करेंटली एज ऑफ नाउ। तो आप अगर 4 साल का BMS पढ़ाते हैं, तो आपके सिलेबस में आपको सोचना पड़ेगा कि क्या हम 1 साल के सिलेबस में दे सकते हैं, कि जो 1 साल के बाद में स्टूडेंट घर वापस जब जाए तो उसके हाथ में क्या, वो आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर नहीं कहलाएगा फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेकिन क्या वो कर पाएगा, इसको हमको सोचना पड़ेगा। हमारे सिलेबस फ्रेमिंग करने वाले जो लोग हैं उनको ये सोचना पड़ेगा। अब ये कोई वैसे भी, अगेन इट इज नॉट अ थंब रूल that this multiple exit will be strictly 1 year, 2 year, 3 year and 4 year. It can be that in a course like MBBS, the multiple exit will not begin at the end of the first year. Maybe it may begin at the end of the second year. तो 2 साल के MBBS की पढ़ाई में शायद कुछ कर पाएगा. Depends. So what I'm trying to say is, you and me are not the syllabus designers of these particular professional courses. In the framework which the NEP gives, the professional standard setting bodies have to come out with a curriculum and the syllabus which will take care of these multiple exits and multiple entries. That is what I feel is what people in the apex will be doing in the next coming few years. It will not be very much like a thumb rule that at the end of first year everybody has to go, then what will happen. So they will design out, they will carve out how these things will be actually working in the practical aspects. So that is what I feel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that wonderful explanation, sir. It made everything very clear. I would like Ms. Rainey to ask the question to you. Her question, Rainey.
Yes,
so, sir, it was
namaste.
regarding. Yeah.
Yes,
go ahead, Rainey.
Yeah, namaste, sir, and everyone. I just wanted to know that you had in that document also, and you spoke about standalone technical universities and other universities will be discontinued. So, will it include IITs or specialized engineering colleges or medical colleges that are only into engineering or only into, IIMs are there? So, what will happen to these specialized colleges, sir?
They will get transformed into multidisciplinary higher education institutes. You can take an example of IIT itself. So take IIT Bombay now. It is supposed to be having only BTech, MTech programs, but IIT Bombay is also offering PhD in Sanskrit. IIT Bombay is also having courses on sociology, economics. IIT Bombay has a school of management. Dr. Varadraj Bapat gave a talk 2 days back.
Yes,
I think he's from the IIT Bombay School of Shailesh Mehta School of Management. So IIT itself is in the last few years getting transformed into multidisciplinary institution. Likewise, all IIMs also will be definitely looking for different courses, and those standalone universities, for example, in Maharashtra, we have Maharashtra University of Health Sciences dedicated only for medical courses. We have agricultural universities dedicated only for agricultural coursework. We have Batu, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University dedicated only for engineering programs. Now, all these standalone universities will have to get transformed into multidisciplinary. They need not get closed. That is something which we have to understand. Tomorrow, IIM Bangalore is not going to get closed, or IIM Ahmedabad is not going to get closed. What is going to happen is IIM Ahmedabad will definitely start different kind of courses which can be offered to their students from other disciplines also, so that they get a taste of any other course when they want. More than that, again, I am repeating that online and digital learning is something which is going to form a major component of your teaching learning process. So don't think that physically everything is going to happen in a particular infrastructure. IIM Ahmedabad can start online courses on music. Aren't we having those kind of online courses now today? So we can have an online course on Vedas, online course on Upanishads. If I want to learn Bhagavad Gita, there is a certificate course on Bhagavad Gita. I can learn. I am an IIM Ahmedabad student doing some specialization in marketing, for example, and I want to learn the marketing principles of Bhagavad Gita. Or I am in the Indian Institute of the Democratic Leadership of Rambo Malgi Prabodhini. So I want to learn the leadership lessons of Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana for that matter. So that is allowed. That can be easily possible. I need not have my physical infrastructure only capable of giving everything in my campus. So let us expand our way of handling things. We have to think out of the box. The purpose has to be achieved. How do we achieve the purpose? By giving quality education, by giving equitable education, by giving affordable education is what higher education institutes have to very much think about. They will be able to sustain only they lay their education system on the basis of these 5 principles of NEP, and they think of transforming themselves into a vibrant and multidisciplinary kind of system. Then only they will be able to sustain. Otherwise, they have to close their shop.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think this answers the question by Ms. Shabnam, who was asking about colleges who who do not have the required infrastructure, etc. So I think like sir ने जो बोला है कि जो ये बुनियादी जरूरतें हैं इन इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लिए, उसके लिए या तो वो अपने आप को पूरा बदलें, उस लेवल पर आए, और या फिर वो तैयार हो जाएं कि वो अपनी दुकान बंद करें. सेकेंडली सर ऑल्सो सेड कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का मतलब सिर्फ फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है. आज के कोविड टाइम में तो हम सब समझ ही चुके हैं, डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हैज इनफैक्ट प्लेड अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल. तो कोई भी कोर्सेस उस इंस्टीट्यूट में नहीं रन किए जा सकते, पर ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म पे तो किए ही जा सकते हैं. सो आई थिंक दिस to a great extent answers your question, Shabnam. If I have left out anything, you can unmute and ask. Sir, we will take a few more minutes of your time. You have been very kind. क्योंकि एक आध क्वेश्चन और है. शबनम, आपको कुछ और पूछना है? हेलो. देन मिस निशा इज आस्किंग कि अगर कोई मेडिकल कोर्स या बीएससी 1-2 साल पढ़ने के बाद वो किसी और स्ट्रीम में शिफ्ट होना चाहे, कॉमर्स या ऐसा कुछ, सो व्हाट डज एनईपी से अबाउट इट?
वो एनईपी तो सब कुछ कह देता है, क्या करना कि नहीं करना और कैसे करना, ये तो आगे जब ये प्रत्यक्ष में आएगा तब देखेंगे. आज की तारीख में एनईपी तो कहता है कि देयर विल बी मल्टीपल एग्जिट ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल. कहाँ अवेलेबल होगा, कैसे अवेलेबल होगा, कितना अवेलेबल होगा, इसके लिए तो हमको कुछ समय रुकना पड़ेगा. आज तो हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि जैसे थोड़ी देर पहले बीएमएस के बारे में मैंने बताया कि it is not a blanket rule that every time at the first year you can go. It will not be like that. There will be some different situations in different programs also. So we have to wait till the NEP, whatever NEP says gets implemented into different professional courses and how they work out their multiple entry exit options. So that we have to wait for some time to see how it gets evolved.
Got it, sir. So I have a question. When you were giving the presentation, we could see the pattern of number of years for different degrees. एक normal graduate होने के लिए, फिर honors में होने के लिए, फिर जो आपने एक बताया था 4 years course which was for liberal arts, the very last one. तो जो BSc वगैरह है, it was shown under 3 years program followed by 2 years of masters if one wants to pursue. तो ये जो 4+1 वाला system है, why is it applicable only for liberal arts, जहाँ पर 4 साल का undergrad और फिर 1 साल का masters?
एक्चुअली वो वैसे नहीं है जैसे चार्ट में दिखाया था. मतलब इट इज बैचलर ऑफ लिबरल आर्ट्स और लिबरल एजुकेशन. दे आर येट टू नेम इट इन द कंप्लीटनेस, बट इट इज अ थॉट. It is a thought that liberal education means there will be liberty in choosing subjects. So it has been shown separately in that chart just because it has to be identified separately. It can actually be a 3 years of bachelor of liberal education also. It can be a 4 years of liberal education also. The words, the nomination may change. I mean, what is to be called the degree as may change. That is something which is yet to be decided by the decision makers in the different apex bodies, or in the Higher Education Council of India also, which is yet to be coming into existence. So when everything gets started working, then they will think about these subjects or these courses which have to be put into different bachelor degrees. So that is yet it is still as an idea that what should happen in the higher education. So in the flexible higher education system, as we have the flexibility of coming in and going out, there has to be flexibility in choice of subjects also. That is exactly what is that chart actually showing. So flexibility of subjects, flexibility of movability from 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. Now within that framework of ideas, when these apex bodies sit down and design their curriculum and write down the name of their degrees, maybe we will be getting more idea about how this liberal arts or liberal education is actually going to get work. So for example, it very clearly says that in at least in the junior college +2 level existing today, there will be no art, science and commerce. So up to +2, it will be like +10. What we have up to 10 standard today will be up to 12 standard. So all subjects, all kind of similarities will be there. Of course, after 10 standard, there will be different boxes through which you can choose your different subjects based on your interest. But after 12 standard is what this Pandora's box of bachelor's degree is going to get opened up. So let us wait again, because as I said, I as an individual is not going to decide what these things are going to be. It depends upon the task force and the different committees at the different levels, at the central level as well as at the state level, which have to design and redesign and think about what should be that in the given framework of NEP 2020.
Right, that's a very fair answer. वेरी वेरी फेयर आंसर सर. आपके ही जवाब में से एक पॉइंट लेकर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ. जैसे आपने कहा कि 11-12 में चॉइस रहेगी और बच्चे अपने हिसाब से ले सकते हैं, उनके पास ऑप्शंस रहेंगे. अब मुझे ये लगता है कि अगर बच्चे को IIT एंट्रेंस देनी है या मेडिकल के लिए एंट्रेंस देनी है, तो वो उसके पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं रह जाता PCM PCB लेने के अलावा, इफ दोज एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशंस आर टेस्टिंग द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दीज सब्जेक्ट्स. तो हम कितना भी कहते हैं कि आपके पास ऑप्शंस हैं, पर आगे आने वाली परीक्षाओं में अगर यही विषयों पर उनको देना है अपनी परीक्षा, तो वो यही लेने वाले हैं.
उसमें एक आपको मैं आपको उसमें एक बात जरूर बताऊंगा कि देखिए वो भी ट्रांसफॉर्म होगा. अभी नीट का जो सिस्टम है, जेई का सिस्टम है, वो भी थोड़ा ट्रांसफॉर्म होगा. लेकिन क्या होगा आज हम नहीं कह सकते हैं. क्या हो सकता है एक और चीज जो एडिशनली होगी कि समझो हमने PCM ग्रुप तो लिया, लेकिन हमारे पास में फिर भी सब्जेक्ट्स बचते हैं 11th और 12th लेने के लिए. आज की तारीख में 11th और 12th साइंस करने वाला स्टूडेंट क्या इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ सकता है, क्या ज्योग्राफी पढ़ सकता है, क्या हिस्ट्री पढ़ सकता है, क्या फिलोसफी पढ़ सकता है, क्या लिटरेचर पढ़ सकता है? नहीं पढ़ सकता है, क्योंकि जो साइंस लेगा वो इंग्लिश मराठी दो में से कोई एक लैंग्वेज लेगा, और पता नहीं और क्या सब्जेक्ट है अभी आज के ज़माने में. तो 11th कॉमर्स 12th कॉमर्स करने वाला स्टूडेंट क्या फिजिक्स पढ़ पाएगा, क्या केमिस्ट्री पढ़ पाएगा, क्या बायोलॉजी पढ़ पाएगा, क्या मैनेजमेंट का कोई कोर्स पढ़ेगा, या इंजीनियरिंग का कोई सब्जेक्ट पढ़ पाएगा, मतलब रिलेटेड टू 11th 12th. तो ये फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ऑफ, मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ, वो चूजिंग द चॉइस ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट इवन एट द 11th and 12th, because we all know and we all understand, but we can't do today anything, because this is how the today's system works, that at the raw age of 15, 16 and 17, a student is not able to judge. Say for example, at the age of 14, 15, the student is not able to judge by himself that I should take arts, I should take commerce, or I should take science. So that is the problem today. And we have to understand that. So let the student come up to the age of 17, for example. So 12th standard tak aa gaya, 17-18 ka ho gaya. So the student understands. The student has an idea and exposure of different subjects. So his maturity level also goes up, and now the student can be having a choice of going into any of these fields of higher education. As on today, in this system, once you take admission to 11th arts, you cannot dream of going to any commerce faculty or science faculty subjects, or for that matter engineering and medical faculty, because you are already left out. Abhi arts liya hai to BA MA तुम्हारी जिंदगी उधर ही है. That is what I think is a major change in bringing choice of subjects at the +2 level.
Right, sir. So this seems to be a little inspired from the international education system, like the Cambridge board that we are following. उसमें बच्चों को 11-12 में पूरी फ्रीडम होती है. आउट ऑफ I think 45+ subjects children can choose. Like my daughter has taken PCB, but she has also taken psychology.
Absolutely.
So
very good.
I was a PCB student with Indian board, MP board. I didn't have an option like psychology. So yes, there is a clear difference, and we needed to move into this territory बच्चों के लिए. So that's really a positive move. If anybody has any question, maybe we can take one last question. I think we have taken all. And sir, मुझे लगता है कि ये तो एक Pandora's box है जब questions की और challenges की बात आएगी. But ultimately what matters is moving ahead with a very positive approach, moving ahead with this vision, और ये सोचना है कि चाहे जो हो हम इस विजन को पूरा करेंगे. हमारी तरफ से जो होता है वो हम करेंगे. And I promise to you on behalf of all my teachers here, we will give our best in making this NEP a success and giving you the best children from RRIS to your higher education institutions. So thank you once again. Thanks to you. Thanks to all the teachers, and wish you all the best, sir. और आपका मार्गदर्शन हमको मिलता रहे, यही मेरी आपसे प्रार्थना है.
आप सबको शुभकामनाएं, और आप सबको भगवान शक्ति दे कि आप इन सारी चीजों में पूरे जोर शोर से उतरे, और भारत का अच्छा भविष्य आपके ही हाथों से जो गढ़ने वाला है, उसके लिए आप सबको शुभकामनाएं.
आपको भी सर, और बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you so much for the time, and I'm
Sorry about the technical glitch in the beginning, and I could not present such an illustrious person's introduction. I'll be sharing with my staff. इतना खूबसूरत और इंस्पायरिंग इंट्रोडक्शन है कि उसको पढ़ने के बाद ही मुझे लगा कि अगर मैं ये आज मैंने मिस कर दिया आप सबको बताना, तो आप सबका बहुत बड़ा लॉस है. सर से बहुत कुछ सीखने के लिए है और हम आगे सीखते रहेंगे. थैंक यू सो मच सर.